Welcome back to the Skids Giggles Podcast. I am Pascal, chief instigator of this show and your host. I'm joined by my co-host and resident engineer, the yin to my yang, the Starsky to my Hutch, Bryson. How's it going today?
Oh, I'm very excited to be here, Pascal. How about you?
I'm good, and I'm very excited to introduce our guest today. As you know, bike racing is near and dear to my heart, not only as a racer myself, but also as a super fan of the sport. And today we are joined by no other than Anna Newkirk. Anna, how are you going today?
Hi, I'm really good today. I'm really excited to be here, to have this conversation with you guys.
Well, we'll be talking quite a bit about Anna's career and some of the achievements later on. So I'm going to spare the listener the highlight reel for now. I'm just going to mention World Championship medals. Before we jump into our conversation, let's just briefly mention our social and where you guys can find more information about the Skids and Giggles podcast. We are currently most active on Instagram, where you can just skid into our DMs and follow along at Skids and Giggles. And you can find our website with all the relevant links and info under skidsandgiggles.com. We'll be skipping the listener question for today because we have quite a bit of material to cover with Anna. Bryson and I have been talking about doing an episode just between the two of us to be discussing listener questions soon. So please just keep them coming and we'll pick them up later in a separate show. All right on. So, to start with, to set the scene, I want to start with a career highlight of mine so far. And it doesn't actually involve any fancy destinations or a big race at all. It was one of those weekends where I just brought my kids to see my parents, and of course, bringing the kids to the grandparents means ride time for daddy and free bike time. So I was going around for a ride around the neighborhood where I grew up, checking off some of my favorite trails from way back. And as I got back to the house for some cake, I uploaded my Strava and started looking at some of the segment results. There's a few important things that I noted for the conversation today. Number one, Anna actually grew up pretty much in the same neighborhood as I did. In fact, she currently lives about 5 minutes away from my parents' house. Number two, career highlight time, and this one will be standing the test of time because this trail is closed now. On this special day in April 2 years ago, I was 1 second faster than a World Cup downhill racer. But most importantly, number three, your dad was right up there with both of us. So that leaves the question for me. Are the fast genes of riding downhill like a crazy person, are those in the family, or is that something that's special to you?
Well, my dad is more fast riding uphill and down. He's a big roadie guy and cross-country guy. He is quick on the downhill for his age and for the fact that he didn't grow up riding mountain bikes or downhill. But my brother also used to race downhill, and he was really fast and really good. Still is. Still usually beats me.
Oh, really? But has he stopped racing altogether, or is that... have you beaten him too many times?
No, he stopped racing altogether a couple years ago to focus on school. And just because I think... no, actually ask him that question.
Okay, we shall reach out to him later on. Well, I guess, maybe to start with, we also want to spend a little bit of time on, understanding how you got into riding bikes, because I understand you got into it pretty early on. So maybe can you explain, tell the listeners how you got into it?
Yeah, I grew up racing BMX back when I lived in the U.S. I got into that also through my older brother, Bennett. He, just wanted to start one day. He saw some old trophies or something from my dad, who also used to race BMX a little bit. And then he was like, yeah, I want to do that. And I was like 4. I just did whatever people told me to do. So if I was given a bike and told, yeah, go ride a bike. And that's basically how I got into riding.
Okay. And when did mountain bikes enter the life of young Anna Newkirk?
They entered, I can't remember the year, but it was shortly before we moved here. So I'm going to say probably 2007. No, 2008. 2008. My first bike was this, very first mountain bike was this little, I think 20-inch Marin. Was brown, hardtail. That's all I remember about it, but it was nice. I rode that thing a lot here and back in the U.S.
All right. And did you always just ride at home where you live now, or did you travel some more when you were younger?
Yeah, when we came to Switzerland, mainly I just rode here, the trails, yeah, up on the Krishona and occasionally on the Gempen. Didn't really go there very often, but I'd mainly just go ride with my dad and my brother on the local trails here. And I didn't really we didn't start actually going places to ride for a couple of years after we moved here. And then the first place we went was Gorten.
In Bern.
In Bern, yeah, city. It's right in the city.
Okay.
There, Neuchâtel, just like kind of the places closest to us. And the first time I ever rode a downhill trail was, I think, in Morzine.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I went up to go, it was raining that day, and we went to go get on the lift, and the lift guy was like, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll be fine." And he was like, "Okay." And then so we went up, and I had a blast.
And that's how it happened.
That's how it happened.
Coming back to family and riding as a family, did all of you guys ride? I mean, there's 4 of you. So did all of them ride together at all times, or has it only been the older ones?
Yeah, my 2 younger brothers, the middle one, Charlie, he used to race BMX as well. The youngest, Asher, was too young when we lived in the U.S. We moved here when he was like 3, so we never really got into that. And then both of them kind of dabbled in mountain biking, but never really got started and never really did it. My mom also used to ride.
Okay, also a shredder family, so to speak.
Well, not anymore. We used to be, but now just half of us.
Okay, well, I mean, of course, I know the trails where you grew up riding. I know them intimately well, as we've heard in the intro. And the real question here is, how do you get into racing downhill by having relatively short tracks available that are not very challenging generally? How do you get into racing?
That's a good question. I don't know myself, but we actually have some cool tracks here, especially the Arlesheim. That's like 5 minutes or something. It's nice to have, and there are a lot more trails that are being built. But I think I also just got into racing through my brother. How he got into it, I'm not quite sure. But basically, I just did whatever he did because I was like 9 or 10. I couldn't really think for myself back then. So I just did whatever. Yeah, just did whatever people told me to do or whatever other people did.
Okay. But, at the time, was there already like, let's say junior categories all the way down to 10-year-olds, or were you was it basically one big category of people that were somewhat junior?
There was U13 was the youngest group, and so you had to be at least 11 or turning 11 that year. But back then when I did my first race, there wasn't a girls category. So like it was girls and boys mixed, which I thought was cool because like when you're 13, when you're younger than 13, when you're like 11 or 12, girls already started puberty, so like they grow. There's that one sweet spot where they're bigger and stronger than the boys because the boys hit puberty a little bit later. So there I had a slight advantage and would beat a lot of the boys a lot of the time.
Nice. Very good. I mean, that's probably good for their personality too, especially coming into puberty.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, I guess, we don't want to spend too much time on going through every minute detail of your racing career, but maybe can you just mention some of the highlights so far? Because obviously, the big part of your career still lies ahead of you. But what were the the highlights so far in terms of racing downhill and all the other disciplines, actually.
Yeah, I think the biggest highlights have to be like the places that I've gotten to go and the people I've gotten to meet. Just like the whole experience in general. I'm really, really fortunate and grateful to have gotten it. But in terms of like results in racing, one that sticks out is Fort William, and my first and only World Cup win there. That was really cool. World champs, because especially because Fort William, the atmosphere there is so cool.
Oh yeah, I mean on the TV that looks insane.
Yeah, the crowd and the people, it's even if it's like pouring rain, there are midges everywhere biting you, but the crowd is so cool and everybody there is so nice and it's such a great race. Like definitely one of my favorite events. And also Lenzerheide World Champs was really cool because a lot of my friends were there and it was, second to Worlds is cool. But there were a lot of people I know and a lot of friends and my neighbors were there and it was really, really cool. Both of them.
Yeah, you mentioned that you sort of just started riding up and following in your brother's footstep. So are you currently faster than him?
I don't think so. The thing is, I think it's really unfair because he never rides. Well, I probably shouldn't say that because he's probably going to listen to this and be like, that's not true. But he doesn't ride very often, especially in the winter. And I ride all the time. I ride almost every day. And still, that one time he goes and rides, like even though he hasn't touched a bike in like 3 months, he'll still beat me. And I'll go do like a manual, like 100 meters down a hill. And I'm like,
oh, shucks.
That's not fair.
Yeah, I think if we went up to a downhill course, like a proper downhill track, we might be similar because I know I'm better at more technical stuff than I am at like flow trails and stuff. So maybe there we'd be similar, but I don't know. I think he'd still beat me, which is sad.
The real difference comes, the fourth, fifth, and sixth run that you have to do because I guess a lot of the World Cup fitness is not how fast you can go on one single run. It's how you go after a whole World Cup racing weekend. So
yeah, for sure.
But again, I offer to be the judge of this competition, the intra-family competition. The next time I can get to see my parents and then hopefully get to take the bike out and then we can all go for a ride.
Perfect. Sounds good. Sounds like a plan.
All right. I mean, you mentioned that you've also done other disciplines. BMX has been mentioned, downhill obviously very prominently. How do you see yourself developing from here, right? So I know that you've obviously been racing in also Enduro World Series. You've done some other events. So where is the focus going to be for the next couple of years?
I think my main focus will stay on downhill. It is what I truly love and what I enjoy doing the most and what I'm most passionate about. But I still want to bring like more Crankworx events and Enduro World Series and everything in because maybe another 4-cross World Championships, who knows? But I really do enjoy doing other disciplines and trying out new things, and I love Crankworx. Crankworx is like my favorite event ever. I love Crankworx because it's such a relaxed atmosphere and there's so many events and it's really fun. You're just riding all day long. Yeah. But yeah, my main focus I think will stay on downhill.
Okay, and then Crankworx, which events in particular are you most interested in? Speed and style.
I have no style whatsoever, so maybe not that, but I love dual slalom. Dual slalom's the best. So fun.
Yeah, I guess with a BMX background, that's natural.
Not having any style?
No, the BMX background is natural to go to gravitate towards dual slalom.
Yeah, no, slalom's great. I love slalom. I think they should have a dual slalom World Cup. That would be so much fun.
I recently watched a YouTube video where you were on the Young Guns team and you were at the Crankworx Innsbruck. In the video was Lee Donovan. I'm a big fan of hers. She's like a mountain bike legend.
Yeah.
What's it like riding with her and spending the day? And yeah.
Yeah, lovely. She's great. She is such a great mentor and such a great person. In Worlds 2019, she was the downhill coach. So I got to learn a lot from her, and she's such a big help, and she's so knowledgeable and just really a genuine, really great, fun person to hang out. She's so much fun. Just a great person. I'm a big fan.
Okay, well, I mean, I guess the flip side to all that racing and all that fun stuff that lies ahead is, is in the right here and now, and that's you're currently finishing school, or about to finish school in the next couple of months, and a lot of exciting stuff ahead. So, do you have already an idea how you're going to balance kind of your racing career and maybe some further education, or you're going to just all in on racing for now?
I don't know. I'm currently like a bit in a crisis because I don't know what to do with my life. But what I'm currently, I don't know, fixed on, I guess, or what I'm leaning towards is doing online university so that I can focus on university and racing at the same time. Because I feel like if I just did racing, I might get bored because, I don't know, I'm a person who likes to do a lot of things and I like to be busy and I like to be kept busy. So I think doing online uni and racing would be a good balance because the online university that I'm looking at, it does take a little bit longer to get a bachelor's degree. So instead of your normal 3 years, it's 4.5, but it's more spread out and it's a more relaxed schedule. So I'm considering doing that at the moment.
An interesting theme that has come up over the last few episodes is this outside in view of mountain biking, which is this kind of the Rampage view or the Red Bull TV view of the sport, where everyone also only seems to be in it to have a great time, to just send it, and there's nowhere is there really a portrayal of the sport as a serious professional endeavor. And then maybe, can you just shed a bit of light on, what is your perspective on this? Where is the sport today in terms of its professionalism? If it's, you can contrast it with your school friends in terms of what it means to be a World Cup athlete, and how does it compare to a more traditional sport?
Yeah, I think especially nowadays the sport it's gotten really professional, and the athletes and the racers, they really do take it seriously and they train seriously. And yeah, like any other athlete from any other sport would, like, of course we're definitely all here for the good time because if it weren't fun we wouldn't be doing it. And there are still parties and stuff, but yeah, I think it's definitely really professional. Everybody trains seriously, and especially if you want to be at the top, you have to put the work in and you have to train and you have to take it seriously. Like, now you can't just half-ass it and expect to to make it somewhere and to be at the top.
Okay. So basically what you're saying is you're not crushing beers at the start anymore and then just sending it.
Yeah, we shotgun Red Bulls, not beers now.
Sounds much more professional.
Much more professional.
But yeah, if you maybe contrast it a little bit with your, with your school friends in terms of, you're going to a high school specifically for young athletes that, gives them the time to train properly and have the necessary structure during the day that allows them to cope with the workload. And if you compare that, with, say, more traditional sports, how does your schedule compare?
I think the one main difference between like me and my sport and the other people who do more traditional sports, so volleyball or athletics or stuff like that, I think the main difference is that with them it's structured. They're in a club or in a team, or and they play or they train with people who they see every day, and they always train with that club, and it's it's very structured. They have their trainers there and their coaches. And with me, it's, well, I'm not in a team. And even when I was in the team, all my teammates lived far away from me. So I normally train by myself, or I'll go riding with friends. But it's not as, I guess, structured. But I'd say the load is still similar. Like, obviously, it varies from sport to sport. Like, I don't know, somebody who plays volleyball is not going to train the same way I do. But somebody who does, we don't have any marathon runners, but I assume somebody who's a marathon runner would train completely different to how any of us do.
Yeah, of course. I mean, but again, that's the beauty of this system, that it allows the freedom for these talented young sportsmen and sportswomen to to structure their day that fits best to their overall needs.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I mean, if we talk a little bit about the training and the preparation that goes into a World Cup season or a World Cup weekend, I mean, what do listeners have to think about when you say, like, oh yeah, well, I'm preparing for the World Cup season right now, and it's starting we are now in mid of February, and it's hopefully starting in somewhere in April. So what are you doing right now?
Freaking out about how close we are to the season. No, but currently spend a lot of the time at the gym. So I'll go to the gym 2 or 3 times a week. I'll go ride whenever I can. Right now, since I'm on vacation and I have a lot of time, I'll probably go ride like 5 times a week, almost every day. And I'll do sprints twice a week. But that also varies. Yeah, I hate sprints. I saw your face, and I hate it. It's my least favorite part of the week. But, it's I hate it, but I also love it, because once you're finished with sprints, it's like, oh, yeah, I accomplished something today.
Oh yeah, for sure. No, I mean, I have visions back to by my younger days so I used to grow up as a swimmer, and
Oh God,
kind of like hard interval trainings and sprint trainings and stuff like that, and then coaches would say, like, it's only hard enough if you have to throw up, and they're like, dude, what is wrong with you?
Yeah, that's messed up. That's messed up.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, swimmers are a special kind of breed,
yeah,
and
sure.
That's why I left that behind and chose bikes, to quote
very
Lee
good
Donovan,
choice.
who actually Insta handle, I believe, is I chose bikes. So,
yeah.
Right. So we've talked a little bit about you're racing multiple disciplines, and we talked about the preparation now specifically for the World Cup downhill, but later on in the season, hopefully we'll also have some enduro races. So how does that change your training approach? Are you spending a lot more time on volume and having the base fitness, or what are you doing right now?
Yeah, so to prepare for enduro, I spend just more time on the bike, just a lot more volume, more longer intervals, since enduro stages are usually like, for all of them I've raced, have been like 10 minutes. So I've been doing like 10-minute intervals instead of just 5. It's like twice the length. Longer days on the bike, and just more endurance.
Okay. Multiple starts a day, although that's not too different from a World Cup training day or qualification day, right? So you have multiple starts in a day. So
yeah, for sure.
It's the same on an enduro. Now if we talk a little bit, specifically on a racing weekend, so be that World Cup downhill or enduro, is there anything specific that you do in your preparation, like any routines that you can't live without, you can't perform without?
Yeah, I have this really silly superstition where I have to have my nails painted at races, and that is the most important race preparation. Obviously, like, practice and stuff is also good, and recovering and stretching and mindset and stuff, but having my nails painted, that's that's also important.
That's deal breaker.
That's the deal breaker. The last time I didn't have them painted was in Leger 2018, and I died. Halfway through my qualification run, I had a massive crash and couldn't race the rest of the weekend. So, yeah.
There you go. So
exactly.
There you go. That's the next strategy to prevent crashes is to make sure you have your
Start painting your nails.
paint your nails.
Well, guys, looking good is feeling good.
Yeah.
And feeling good is riding good.
That's true, but I don't necessarily like the way my nails look when they're painted. It's like I don't mind it, but it's not like I think, yeah, it looks so much better with painted nails. It's just a superstition.
Okay, and apart from the painted nails, which obviously create a lot of comfort and bring you into the zone for a race weekend, what are the other kind of steps you take to be ready? What is important to you? Usual routines, or is it kind of focusing on mindset, only positive vibes, or do you have any other strategies to deal with the pressure?
To deal with the pressure, I don't know. I'm kind of relaxed about that, but just to prepare for the race, I make sure I'm prepared. I watch GoPro videos. I go through the course in my head. I stretch in the evenings and black roll and make sure my body's ready. My body's recovered from the day's training. If I had any crashes or I'm hurt anywhere, I'll make sure to get that, fixed or dealt with. Just make sure that I'm, physically and mentally prepared.
Okay. I mean, we had a very, very interesting conversation the other day on this podcast about fear and overcoming fear specifically. So, obviously that's a very different topic for a racer like yourself. But she, in this case, was talking more specifically in terms of like group dynamics and things like that, and like obstacles. But I would be curious to hear if is an issue for you as well, or is that something you will way past that point where you're scared of a World Cup downhill track, or how do you deal with that?
Definitely not. Usually, almost every track walk, I'll be walking down and be like, how am I supposed to ride down this? There's no way I'm going to make it down this track. This is insane. And then the first run, I always just kind of chill. I'm like, okay, it's not that bad. And one way I get over the fear of like big jumps and stuff, I don't know if it's a way of getting over the fear, but a lot of the time I'll have somebody tow me in, just tow me over the jump. It makes it easier, and especially it's like, well, now I don't have a choice. Now I have to, and it kind of forces me to do it, and it's reassuring to have somebody in front of me who knows the speed and the jump, and I'll talk to people a lot, I'll ask, have you done that jump? I'll ask everybody if they've done the jump or done the obstacle, and, if I know enough people around my skill level have done it, I'm like, yeah, now I'll do it.
I have to do it.
I have to do it now. Have no choice. I ask a lot of people, and I'll ask riders who are better than me, but who know my riding level. I'll ask them if they think I can do it. I'll just go around asking people, have you done it? Is it hard? Do you think I can do it? It's probably really annoying, but it helps me.
Do you always get the one person who says, no, I don't think you can do it, and then you try to prove them wrong?
I've never really had anybody say that. I've heard
positive vibes in the pits.
Because if I know that I can't do, I only really ask if I can do a jump or an obstacle if I already know that I can. I just need the reassurance. So if there's something that I know I can't do or that I know I'm not going to do, I'm not going to ask about it. I just need reassurance.
Yeah, but it's actually again an interesting remark you make is. When you say you talk to other riders, is this, you're talking to other female riders, or is it to riders in general? Because, again, one theme we start observing is that riding with women is much more supportive than it's riding with dudes. Because they, certainly in male groups, we have, I think both Bryce and I, we have plenty of empirical evidence to back up this claim, is that there is obviously a lot of bravado and there's a lot of machoism, and of course I'm going to send it. I mean, hello. Yeah. So how is that for you?
Riding with girls is, I've been doing it a lot more recently, but I've rarely ridden in just like a giant group of girls. it's usually only just with 1 or 2 max, but there it's always really cool, and it's really supportive and really helpful, because like, let's say if there's a good friend of mine, Abby, I go riding with her a lot. When we were more zine, there were a lot of jumps and stuff that we were nervous about, but it's really supportive, and we really push each other and help each other to build up to do it. And it's like that with all the girls that I ride with or that I've ridden with. It's really, really supportive environment.
Anna, it sounds like you take a very focused approach to your training, for being a privateer. What kind of things do you do to keep your focus and not let it, let's say, your focus stray onto what other people are doing? And maybe you can tell us a little bit about what doing that has changed for you.
Well, my focus often actually does stray. It really likes to wander and go off in different directions, but I'm getting better at keeping my focus focused. But whenever I do lose focus, or I don't know, I lose motivation even, I like to go, it sounds really cliche and really cheesy, but I really like to go watch like replays of old races, World Cups on Red Bull TV, or I'll go look at pictures through the season, and I'll look at pictures of racing and just those memories and the joy it brings me. That usually brings my focus back.
That's got a visual reinforcement.
Yeah, I'm a very visual person, so like pictures and videos and all that is very, very helpful.
And then speaking back to your training, in the current place that you live, as we were discussing, you don't have so many long tracks. But I was just up in the mountains on the weekend, and I had a hell of a time trying to breathe because of the elevation. Do you do any training at elevation to help your fitness in that regard?
We live at like, 230 meters above sea level. So not really. The only time I ever get exposure to that elevation is when I'm in the mountains and when I'm riding in the mountains, which, they're not that far away, but still like far enough. So not really. Most of my training I do here. Most of my riding I do here. The only time I ever get exposure to elevation is when I'm racing or when I'm riding in the mountains, which is usually downhill, only occasionally enduro.
Yeah, I mean, actually, the elevation topic brings us back to another experience of yours I want to explore a little bit. And of course, with the elevation, I'm not sure you did 2018 Zermatt.
Mm-mm.
Okay, well, that was when the start was one of the last stages was at 3,000 meters. And so, 8-minute stage with a sprint starting at 3,000 meters.
Yeah.
So pretty much everyone was breathing through their eyeballs after 20 seconds.
It was in 2019 too. One of the stages started at 3,000 meters and I died. I just couldn't breathe. I died.
It's brutal. But last year, Zermatt was a very, very special race. And, talking about a little bit your preparation for a weekend like that. I mean, of course, you probably looked at the weather forecast before you headed up to the race, and can you tell a little bit how that went for you?
It was a catastrophe. It was so cold and so miserable. I did look at the weather forecast and I knew it was going to be cold and miserable, but somehow I didn't think it was going to be that cold and that miserable. Like that was definitely type 2 fun. It was pure agony. Practice was so, especially that long push from stage 4 to 5.
Oh, that was grim.
That was horrible. Like it was awful.
I mean, just to paint a picture for the listener, it was one of these archetypical mountain gravel roads beside a ski lift. So you look at that ski lift, pretty much 50% of the hike a bike up, and you think like, man, why am I walking when I could just take that ski lift? And it was hovering around freezing, steady rain. I think Katie Winton passed me at some stage, and she was like, "Oh, that's just like at home." She's from Scotland, and it was foggy, so you could barely see where the road actually ended, and it felt like it would never end. And it was pretty grim. And I was actually quite happy when they cancelled that stage.
Oh yeah, me too. I was so, because that push was terrible. That push up there was awful.
But I was glad that they only left the sketchy part of the stage in. So
Yeah.
But how did the rest of the race go for you?
Yeah, it was a learning experience. It was a big learning experience. It was tough. I think I raced without goggles just because I'm pretty sure everybody did, or at least without lenses, just because you couldn't see anything with goggles. You know, I learned the latex glove trick, wearing latex gloves under your normal gloves when it's rainy and cold to keep them dryish and warmish, your hands. But yeah, it was, in the end, it was fun. Again, type 2 fun. Really hard, but I learned a lot, and I'm glad I made it through.
Very good. And also, I mean, thinking about the rest of the season last year, I think it was a great preparation for, the World Championships in Leogang. Did you have any takeaways from Zermatt that you brought to Leogang, apart from the latex gloves, maybe?
I mean, even though it was good preparation, there's still two really different situations. Since in Zermatt you were riding up, and in Leogang, we at least got to take the lift up, and we always got to go back to the pits where it's nice and warm and change clothes, and really pampered downhill races are. But yeah, I think the main thing was the latex gloves and keeping my hands warm.
Yeah, and obviously free of mud. I think on the TV coverage you saw a lot of people either hacking together kind of hand guards of some sort and making sure they don't get any mud on their grips. And even when I think it was Troy Brosnan when he crashed, you could just see him when he put his hands up in the air so he wouldn't get muck on his gloves. So I thought it was generally just a struggle to survive.
Oh yeah, that was a crazy race. That was crazier than Zermatt. That was for sure the craziest race I've ever been a part of. Just insane.
Okay, but overall, it's not gone too great for you. I mean, I remember seeing a photo on your Instagram from not such a nice yoga pose in the mud, and I think I commented "Scorpion Queen."
Exactly, yeah.
But overall, you're glad you got through it, but I think the result was not too fantastic.
Yeah, I'm glad I made it through. My race run was really disappointing since I crashed in a section that I made through clean every time in practice. And then at the bottom, in the steep section, I got a rock caught in my mud guard, and my front wheel wouldn't spin. And so I spent like half the bottom section kind of just like pushing my bike down, like trying to get it to roll. And then eventually at some point I just reached in and grabbed like a fist-sized rock out of my wheel. Then I could ride again.
Yeah. No, I guess on the TV coverage you could see a lot of people in all fields struggling.
I was not the only one. So many people struggled. I wasn't the only one who got a rock stuck on my fender either. That was more common than you might think.
Yeah. No, and depending on your bike design, right? So I mean, depending on how your rear triangle is designed and your linkage or whatever, and
Well, it was in my front wheel, but yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I saw pictures of other riders that had just their rear wheel wouldn't turn anymore. So they would just slide down straight.
Yeah, it was crazy. Like it was insanity. But I'm really glad that I did, and I'm really glad that I survived.
Okay, so maybe from those two, let's say rather extreme events, what were your kind of your takeaways for this year and obviously your future race preparation?
Those were two very 2020 races. Definitely fit the year that they were in. I don't know, it's kind of hard to prepare for races like that because even I ride in the mud a lot, but it never gets like it does at a race because you don't have like 200 riders going through it like every hour or multiple times a day. So it's really hard to prepare for conditions like that, but I guess just more mud riding and rain and stuff.
Better equipment, because I mean I was lucky enough.
Yeah.
I was lucky enough for as preparation for Zermatt, because I did the Enduro 2 or Enduro Team as it is now called. Fantastic event, by the way. If you ever have the time to do it, you should do it. Because in 2019, when I did it for the first time, it was exactly the same conditions as in Zermatt. It was, the prologue was kind of semi-dry-ish, but clouds started rolling in. It started raining heavily for the afternoon stages. By the time we started the last stage, it started snowing. It snowed all the way through the night, like 30 centimeters of snow. So they had to cancel like half the race on Friday and then and also on Saturday. But what I learned there is that you cannot bring enough gloves to a race. You should always travel with your winter gear when you go to the mountains, and yeah, so there's no shame in bringing 2 or 3 pairs of gloves in your hip bag or whatever your race bag when you go. So so another pro tip: Ziploc bags.
Yeah, Ziploc bags or waterproof bags. I have these really great reusable waterproof bags that I put my goggles and stuff in for when it's wet. Yeah. Definitely waterproof bags. Lifesaver.
Anna, you mentioned you're quite versed at riding in adverse conditions, mud and such. I just want to know, maybe actually, I'm going to sneak in a listener question here. What stop on the World Cup schedule has the best tasting mud?
Well, I've tasted lots of Scottish mud, lots of Fort William mud. I've gotten lots of tastes of that. Definitely don't like it. It hurts. Left me lots of bruises. Mud tastes terrible. I'd probably say Val di Sole.
Is it like gelati or what?
Like pizza.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it's pizza flavored mud. It's great. Lots of had enough face plants there too to taste. Get a really good taste of the dirt.
So you're heading into the elite season, and I understand that it can be a little bit hectic for juniors on a race day between free practice and the race. But as an elite racer, you're going to have a little bit of time between these two runs. Have you thought about how you're going to spend that time?
Well, that's if I qualify. Gotta qualify first, but at the IXS European Cups and stuff, I'm used to having like a big break there, and usually what I do in that break is take a nap and stretch and stuff and just kind of eat. Oh, I'll have time to eat. I never had time to eat as a junior in between practice and race, so eat. That's what I'm gonna do.
You have a go-to snack or meal?
Pasta and pesto.
Right on. Carbo load.
Yep.
Classic.
That's like the classic mountain biker race meal.
Oh yeah, I mean it's easy to make. It's readily available
For
anywhere.
Sure. And it's good.
So you're going into a privateer season, and I think a lot of people are going to want to know, well, what's your setup going to be like? Can you spill the beans on anything, or?
Yeah, I'm really excited about my setup going into next season. I've put together a lot of really good sponsors and a lot of really supportive people. My bike's going to be great. All the components are great. My whole kit and helmet and goggles and everything's going to look good. I have a great mechanic who's going to help me, and really excited about it.
A mechanic? Is this the Jewel or Jule?
Yule.
And who's this?
She was a mechanic on the SRAM Young Guns team. She started the year before I joined, and then I joined in 2019, and she was my mechanic, and we get along really well. She's a great person, and I enjoy hanging out with her. She's a great mechanic, a great friend, just in general, very pleasant to be around, and we work really well together. So she's going to be coming to the World Cups helping me out. I'm really excited about it.
Great. Sounds like a winning combination.
It is.
Cool.
Yeah.
Speaking of winning, I mean, what are what are the goals for the coming season?
Winning, obviously. No,
Obviously,
yeah, that's a very far fetched goal. That's very ambitious.
of course, and I know if proper sportsman or woman's psyche is to think about process goals. So
Exactly.
let's assume you nail all your process goals and you hit all your marks, your preparation is dialed, the fingers are on point. What is the dream scenario for 2021?
Well, obviously, I don't think anybody enters a race and is like, yeah, today I want to get fifth. Like, everybody wants to win, obviously. You don't, or at least I don't enter a race and don't want to win. So, obviously, I want to win. However, I don't think that's very realistic for next year. I've still got a lot to develop and a lot of improvements to make, which I am making slowly but surely. But I've still got a lot of room to grow and a lot of stuff I need to get better. But I would be, I am aiming for a podium, maybe. That would be nice.
Okay, I mean,
Top
of course,
tens.
as you say, I mean, results are, sometimes. I'm not saying wishful thinking, but I mean, it's yes, you can talk about your goals in terms of results, but what you talk about development and getting stronger, getting better. What are you focused on, this year and maybe next year to get you towards those goals?
I think training consistently, getting stronger, working on my skills, getting more comfortable jumping, because that's still one thing that I'm always, a little bit scared of doing, because big jumps are scary. Let's be honest. To me, at least, they're scary. Work on my weaknesses, become more consistent. So not just be like, on a good day I can do good, but make it so that on any day I can do good, and that it's not just a one-off thing.
One question I'm really curious to hear your take on is, of course, the question of women in the sport and inspiring the next generation. I've been pretty transparent about my own goals with this podcast, and of course, I want to educate myself a little bit in what I can do to make sure that this actually happens. The first time we met, the back end of last year in person. I mean, this time rather than on Strava. Is you did a little giveaway on your Instagram of your old race jerseys, and I was like, well, if my daughter is anything like me or my better half, then she's definitely going to be growing into that jersey relatively soon. So I better get one while I still can. And so yeah, but what other things are you doing to inspire the next generation?
Yeah, I think the most important part or way to inspire women and inspire girls to ride and to get on bikes is representation. So not just me, but any girl who goes out and rides, I think, is representing girls on bikes. And I don't know, even it doesn't matter if you're a beginner, if a girl who's not on a bike sees and who's like maybe considering starting mountain biking, she sees, oh look, there's a girl on the bike. That's really cool. She can do it. Maybe I can too. So I think representation, whether it's me, whether it's Tawny Seagrave or Rachel Atherton or just any average person or girl, I think that's, representation. That's the most important thing.
And where do you think the sport is currently at in terms of representation? Right. Of course, there's always more that can be done. What do you think? Where are we at with in terms of maybe the racing scene versus the general riding scene? Do you have any view on that?
Yeah, I think we're at there's been a big development, in my opinion. We're seeing a lot more women in the free ride videos and the cool edits, like Vision. That was Veronique Sandler's thing, and she's a woman. There were, I'm pretty sure, proportionate amount of men and women in there. We're seeing a big, or at least I am seeing a big increase in generally women on mountain bikes. Like when I first started riding, I was a lot of the time the only girl or one of the only girls in the bike park, and now I'm never the only girl. There's always other women, always other girls out riding, and I think that's really, really cool to see.
That's actually a very good point you make, and I can provide some evidence to that, right? So my own daughter, she's going to be 9 this year, so. But it's crazy how it's the simple things like last year we were on holidays in the mountains and she was like, oh wow, there's all these other women and girls that are also riding, and of course we watched the World Cup on Red Bull TV, and she's like, I make a conscious effort to actually, when we sit down as a family to watch the replay, that we actually watch the women's first, and then that we see it as a family, that she sees that that women and girls are doing the same stuff that I'm excited about, and yes, maybe later on I'm going to watch men's in my own time, but this is all stuff that inspires a generation and hopefully gets more into both racing and riding in general. Maybe last question on like the support and getting into racing and support systems. What are your thoughts on the development paths that are currently available for someone like you, in maybe specifically in downhill, or versus, for example, the more traditional, let's say, Olympic disciplines of the sport? Do you think there's more that needs to be done, more that could be done, and in which way would you like to see more support?
Yeah, I think it really depends on where you live and what country you're from. Like, for example, the French, whatever they're doing, it's working. I don't know what they're doing, but it's clearly working. The French dominate both cross-country, downhill, and enduro. So whatever their system is, everybody else needs to copy because it works. But what I would like to see more of in everywhere is more pathways and more programs for downhill racers. You have lots of programs and stuff for cross-country riders. There are more teams. Like, they get a lot of support from the national team and from the federation, which downhill in most countries don't at all. I know in Switzerland it's pretty good. I know the downhill team here, the national team, does go train together and they do testing together. But yeah, that's here and in France, Italy, Austria maybe a little bit, but that's about it. You don't really, I don't know. I know like in the US there isn't like a national team for downhill, but in cross country there is, and their cross country riders get a lot more support financially and in terms of resources than downhill racers do.
Okay. Well, maybe follow-on question to that is, of course, you kind of fall in between the let's say the two worlds, right? Because you're living in Switzerland, but you're racing for the US. And obviously, the big question is how have you made sure that you do get the support that you had and that you have right now? How have you gone about making sure that you have all the resources that you need to succeed?
That's a hard question to answer. I think just by racing and going out there and meeting people and building connections and relationships with people, I think that's the most important thing that that anybody else can do. Just going and meeting people, talking to these brands, talking to the managers or to the marketing people, just to anybody who will be willing to support you and help you. That's for sure the most important thing, and the most important thing I did, just meeting people.
What are your thoughts on kids camps? Maybe a downhill kids camp or just a general mountain bike kids camp. Have you been involved? Are you? What are your thoughts on that?
I think they're great. I've never been involved in them. I have given kids courses. I did some with TrailNet, a couple last year. But I think they're great, especially camps. There are actually a lot of kids camps. I know in like Serfaus around the Rookies Championships week, there's usually kids camp. And there are a lot of other kids camps, and I think that's really good and a really good way to get kids into it, and for them, most importantly, to have fun, meet other people who ride, and find joy in the sport.
You mentioned some affiliation with TrailNet, doing some kids camp work with them. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I don't remember quite exactly how I got to it. I think I was asked to do one, and then I did one women's specific course at the, what was that? I think that was kind of spring, maybe early summer-ish, and then that went well, and we had a lot of fun there, and they asked me to do, if I wanted to do some more kids camps, and so, or courses, they weren't camps, they were courses, and I was like, yeah, of course. I had a really good time, and then so I went and did the kids courses, and now I'm signed up to do the actual education for the courses, so that I can do them properly, and it's not just freestyle, so I actually know what I'm doing. Yeah, I'm signed up to do that in October of this year, I think, to do the course, to learn how to do courses.
Sounds great. Yeah, I used to dabble a little bit in that myself. I had a lot of fun with the kids.
Yeah, they're fun. They're funny.
They are really funny. They don't even care. They're just having fun.
It's all fun and games till somebody starts to cry, though.
Well, then you just, moonwalk out of it and hand it back to the parents. See you
Yeah,
later.
I'm like, I don't know what to do with this.
Exactly. That's the beauty of not being the parent.
But throwing it back to social media. I'm not a huge fan of social media, but I did recently follow you. So I checked out your Instagram, and I noticed one of the more recent videos that you made or posted had the Beastie Boys Intergalactic track. Is there a story behind that? It's one of my favorite tracks.
Oh, I love the Beastie Boys. Love that song. Thought it was fitting. Great song, yeah. I just thought it was a great song. At that point where I posted that video, I was listening to it obsessively. So it's obvious choice.
Yeah, perfect reason to do so.
All right, maybe one final note on social media. I mean, we've talked a lot about, the importance of it with James, because obviously he has a very keen interest in social media as a marketing tool for his business, and you are obviously on the other end of that chain, let's say. So you're the one providing the content for that marketing and all that social media. So how are you approaching the whole social media topic, and how you work with the brands to represent in a certain way?
Yeah, I think social media for me in general is a really love-hate relationship. I hate how important it is and how much brands really do care about how many followers you have or how many likes you get. I think it's stupid, but also I do enjoy creating videos and making edits, or I don't know, I really do enjoy that part and the creative part. And obviously it really is important for brands and for sponsors. Like nowadays, if you don't do social media and you're not on it, then unless you're like the top racer and you're really incredibly fast and winning all the World Cups, then they're not really gonna want you, because it's basically free advertising for the brand, which is, also has its perks, I guess, because also brands can sometimes see people over Instagram. I've had a couple of brands write me through Instagram and offer me stuff through Instagram. You can also, I guess, the way you represent the brand, you can do in creative ways, and there's a lot of versatility. It's not all bad, but
Yeah, for sure. And of course, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that as general consumers, let's say, we don't really see what's going on behind the scenes, and how stuff is presented to athletes, and how you interact. But yeah, I guess, as you say, it's a good tool to not only communicate with with the brands directly, but also with your fans, your following. Yeah, I mean, has it generally been a more positive thing, or is it more, it's more like part of the job now? Do you draw inspiration from this whole social media work?
I do definitely draw inspiration from it, especially seeing other girls riding and the stuff they're riding. Like a friend of mine, Sam Soriano, she recently posted this video of her doing these massive rampage features, and I'm like, whoa, I want to do that too. I can't, and I know I can't because it's insane the stuff she's doing, but it is really, yeah, I can definitely draw inspiration from a lot of the stuff that people post and the stuff I see. It's just, there's a very fine line between, for a lot of people, between drawing inspiration from something and putting yourself down and being like, oh, but I can't do that, I suck. So yeah, I don't know, for a lot of people, I feel like that side is also a big possibility. For me sometimes too. I'll sometimes see things, videos or pictures, and I'm like, I could never do that. Dang, and then I'll feel bad. But sometimes, a lot of the time, it's inspiration.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think social media as as much as people are bagging on it, there's also a lot of positive things, right? So again, we talked about it with James, right? So the simple fact of swiping through your feed and seeing all these cool edits and cool photos of people riding in places and stuff like that, and you're just like, wow, I really want to get out and ride.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can, as we always say, there's a balanced approach is probably the right thing to do with this.
And just being able to connect with people through social media, because a lot of these people, a lot of the friends and people I know from racing, I don't see very often. So it is cool to still keeping connected to them through social media.
If I can throw back to this cross or multidiscipline athlete approach, I recently also saw, I was really cruising through your Instagram, so you posted a story that you got a entry to the Val di Fassa EWS around the end of June. Now, I know it's notoriously hot up in the mountain there. Are you prepared to do some high altitude, high heat stages?
I'm scared. I've heard stories from that. I'm pretty sure that race specifically, and how hot and almost unbearable that race was. So I'm a little bit scared, but I'd rather have hot than cold. So as long as it's not how it was in Zermatt, it's fine.
Just bring your latex gloves.
Yeah. Whether I'm prepared or not, though, we'll see.
Although, I mean, I think that will be a very interesting concept this year for the EWS is these double headers, and I think people are completely underestimating how hard this really is.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna die. I already know that.
Yeah, your downhiller fitness is gonna be stretched, because I mean Val di Fassa is I think it's a 2-day race twice, right? So and then you practice on top of that. So.
Yeah, I'm already prepared to die. I already died at a normal EWS where it's just one race, and now a 2, a double header. I'm gonna die. But I'm prepared to die. I'm double dead.
Well, yeah, I think it's exciting. I mean, I'm really looking forward to try out a double header. I'm gonna do La Tuile. I think it's cool that they try something new. Of course, 2021 will be as challenging for racing as 2020 was, if not worse. And I think the positive thing to do is to at least try. And I think with concentrating the racing, yes, for us it's obviously great because we can drive to most of the races.
Yeah.
But to concentrate it in a single spot where teams can kind of congregate and save cost and travel in for certain blocks. That makes a lot of sense and should hopefully provide us with some exciting racing this summer.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I mean, I guess on this positive note, I mean, we're coming a little bit towards the end of our time. We have 3 questions that we like to ask all of our guests to close out the show. Is it okay for you if we just go through these now?
Yes.
Right on. Our first one is, let's talk a little bit about the bike that got you really stoked on riding. Was it that Marin?
No, I didn't ride. Not really. I didn't really ride any downhill on that. I think the first bike that I rode like downhill, using air quotes. I know people listening can't see that, but just bear with me. I am. That I rode downhill on was this old hardtail Kona. Well, it wasn't old at the time. It was maybe like 5 years old then. That was very fun. That one definitely got me stoked on riding. And another one that played a very big part that got me stoked on racing was a Kona Stinky 2.4. A mullet, 24 rear, 26 front.
Wow, that is extra special. And again, as we said earlier, this is if there is one theme that stands out on the show so far, it's the Kona Stinky.
The Kona Stinky, the OG downhill bike for a lot of people.
Exactly. The second one, and it's a bit out there, need to stretch your imagination a little bit, is, imagine you're Harriet Skidini and you're a bike magician extraordinaire. You can make riding a bike more awesome for anyone by the stroke of a magic dropper post. What would you do?
I'm really torn on this question. I don't know what I would do. I think I'd give everybody, a little, including myself, a little bit more steez. Because I personally have no style whatsoever on a bike. So anytime I'll do like a table or a whip, I'm like, whoa, that's so cool. And so I'd give that to everybody so that they all have that feeling.
So a bit more Kate Edwards for everyone.
Yeah, for sure. But I'd give myself Morris so that I stand out. Because then if everybody has steez, I still won't have any steez, so I give myself a little bit more so I would have steez. Well, maybe that's a little bit selfish.
Very good.
Okay, so you've just been granted your steez. Please tell us how you would use it to make a great skid.
Well, it's all about the roost. Your skid. It's all about the roost, and especially when it's adrift, it's about having like your bar turned and your wheel like kind of out, you know? It's like your front wheel's rolling, it's going forwards, and then your rear wheel's out skidding and drifting, and there's like a bunch of roost. That's how.
I see you're very, very technical about this.
Very passionate.
That's what I like to hear here.
Very passionate skidder, as are we, exactly, as we are. Right, Anna, we're really at the end of our time now. Thanks again for doing this. It was really, really cool to talk to you. If listeners have any questions or want to learn a little bit more about you, want to reach out to you, where can they find you?
On Instagram, probably. My username's Anna Newkirk _ creative, I know.
Very cool. Well, we can always put that in the show notes. And, with that, I say thank you again. This was fantastic. Thanks, Bryson. It was cool to talk to you too.
Right on.
And
thank you for having me. I had a great time.
See you soon. As I said, you should come to the house for some cake next time in Basel.
Definitely. Let me know when you're here.